growth to me, or what I try to do with my practice, is find out what is your ideal day, right? Doing the type of procedures you want on the patients with people you enjoy.
This is Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast where we ask the question, what does growth in dentistry look like to you? I'm Katie Polson, a dental hygienist and your host. Welcome. It's another great day in the dental world. Before we get started, I wanted to invite you all again to join our Facebook dental intelligence community. Come join like-minded data nerds and learn from each other. Also, got a question. If you have got a question for our CEO, Weston Lunsford, you can do that on our dental intelligence webpage. Just go ahead and fill out the information there, and you'll be able to record an audio question to Weston, and those actually will get.
Make sure everybody keep those clean too for us, please. But yeah, absolutely.
Those will get answered via our podcast. So go to our podcast page at dentalintel.com. And I wanted to, that little voice that you hear is Curtis Marshall, VP of Enterprise Relationships. We're glad to have him here with us again today.
Thank you,
Curtis is going to introduce our lovely guest here.
Yes, this guy, boy, I got a write-up here in front of me, but maybe we'll just copy paste this. I just want to say this guy, Kelly Schwartz, I've known for years, him and his beautiful wife. And these guys, not only do they truly care about people they're a dental coaching firm based out of the East Coast, but they work with offices nationwide. In fact, I believe it's like over 700 offices you've worked with, Kelly, right?
750 plus?
Yeah. So with that being said, he knows exactly what's going on in the dental office, but even more importantly, he truly cares and wants the offices to succeed. It's been something that's been very interesting for me to see how much him and his wife, his whole group, the consulting group, really takes care of dental offices. And so we're excited to jump in with him today and really pick his brain because, boy, Kelly, I can't tell you how many times we've had late night discussions, weekend discussions on dental practices, on helping them to take better care of their patients.
Yeah.
So this is going to be great.
Yep, he's a wealth of knowledge. I'm excited to share it. So
we appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, so great. So we're talking about filling schedules this season, and you are very good at filling the schedule with the perfect patient. So we're going to talk about finding the perfect patient for the hole that you have in your schedule. It sounds like a dream if you ask a lot of people that have tried it. I have. It sounds hard, and there isn't. You just keep making calls after calls. So how does a practice achieve that when the schedule falls apart?
Yeah, because and two, as Kelly jumps in here, Katie, is that there are so many different ways, right? To have the perfect schedule. I mean, the perfect schedule to one person, just like Growth in Dentistry, our podcast here. Growth in Dentistry looks so different to so many people. So does the perfect schedule. So I'm excited to see how Kelly's going to really wrap this up and say, this is truly what the perfect schedule is. So not too much pressure there, Kelly, but
no pressure on. If you allow me to share screen, I also have some visuals, but I'll talk about it.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, you can feel free to watch this. If you're listening in your car, we'll be explaining it as he goes through.
So, I'm a big believer that you kind of begin with the end in mind, right? So if you're a dentist and you're going to do a crown prep, you know what that crown needs to look like at the end of the procedure. And so you visualize, this is where I want to go, and you build upon it. And so to be successful and to fill the practice with the right patient, we want to make sure that you know what is your plan for the day. So be it a schedule for the day, be it a certain amount of patients, be it production. How do you pick the best patient? So the first thing I look for is we have a goal for the day. Let's say that goal is 5,000 in production. How do we get there? Well, the best, or where it starts, is keeping hygiene department full. And by keeping hygiene department full, that's where the majority of the work diagnosed comes from. And that's able to convert with systems and education onto the doctor's chair. But your question is really, how do we pick the right patient? Mm-hmm. So when I ask offices time and time again, what's the right patient? They say the patients who have the most dollars of work to do. which in theory that is true. But I try to train the team to think of the patients that need the most care, right? So if you, for example, Curtis, will come in every 6 months for a cleaning, that's fantastic. But if and don't need and don't want work, that's one thing. But you want an 8 o'clock appointment every 6 months. You don't do the work, you don't refer the work, you just want an 8 o'clock. So you really value the time, not the practice. Katie, on the other hand, she needs treatment. In other words, if she doesn't get treatment, she's going to have more issues than you will. So we want to pick the right patient. So what we like to do, and we love using Dental Intel because it's the only tool I'm aware of as a coach. I know there's other trackers out there, but what I like to do is I train the team to find the patients that have been in within the last 18 months that need the most care. And so on Dental
And by
Intel,
care, just to clarify there, Kelly, by care, you mean the most treatment?
treatment needed, right? So
Perfect. Okay.
got a patient who needs treatment and goes untreated, they got a greater chance of having a problem. And I don't want that as your dentist. Or Katie, who just wants a cleaning and she's got twice a year coupons from her insurance company to come in, right? So Katie just wants to come and get her teeth cleaned. But imagine, if you will, most of my practices have a rather full schedule. So we have a couple openings here or there, but I have more people that need to come in than I have time. So what I will instruct them to do is take a look at the patients that are overdue and then find the patients with the most treatment needed. And then we prioritize. So one of the things we'll do is we'll call the first 10 patients that have been in the last 6 months who have the most care. Then we'll go to the patients who've been in the last 6 to 9 months who have the most care. And we'll go through all the patients maybe that need $3,000 or more. And instead of going top of the list to the bottom of everybody who's overdue, we go to the patients with the most care. The reason why is we want them to get in before they have more problems.
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
love that. I love that because it's not only beneficial for the practice, it's what's best for the patient.
absolutely. I mean, if I've
Yeah.
got 5 openings and 50 patients and I've only got 5 chairs, 5 hours in chair time open, let's pick the patients we can get in and prevent them from having to spend more money, right? We want to catch it before it's a problem. So that's the first place I start. We want to keep hygiene chairs open. And if you think about this, Curtis, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but you follow baseball at all?
A little bit, yeah. Tell me
Okay,
how you're going to bring this together, though.
So
Because I love hot dogs and popcorn, right? But I don't know if that's
I'm a Yankees fan and my husband's a Boston fan, so we're
Oh,
we're
that's
real, we're real good
trouble.
at our house.
There's real trouble.
So if you take 2 hygienists working full day and they see 8 patients in baseball, a batter who bats 320 and above, top of the league, will make tens of millions of dollars. But somebody who bats like 260 is only going to make $1 million or $2 million, not only, but they make significantly less, right? And the difference is just 1 hit out of 10. That's the difference between a 320 and a 220 hitter. Well, in dentistry, if you have 8 patients in the chair, you have 390 or 448 teeth to look at. But if you only put 7 patients per hygienist in the chair, you have 392 teeth to look at, right? So you lose 56 opportunities to find teeth needing treatment. So keeping butts and hygiene care is really, really important. And then you don't want to have a practice full of patients who don't need treatment. I mean, again, beginning with the end of the mind, most practices' goals get everybody healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem in dentistry is we can't afford to have that. So if we have 16 patients come in hygiene who don't need work, we don't need assistance and we need one front desk. So unfortunately, we need to have patients who need our care. And so we like to prioritize those patients and have a system in place to get those patients in the chair with the biggest amount of treatment, or I'll call it the low-lying fruit, right? So we want to be productive, keep our butts in the chair, right? With patients who perhaps need care in our practice.
So Kelly, this is really cool. So first off, you kind of, to recap here, not finishing, but as far as backing up, what you're saying is first you need to know what your goal is. So question for you. If my goal is 5,000, which I hope your dental office is not $5,000 a day, but let's say it is, right? If your goal is for $5,000 in a day and you have many holes in your schedule, is that a perfect day? 5,000. If you're scheduled to it, your goal is 5,000 per day and you are scheduled to go, but you have holes in your schedule. I'm curious, is that still a perfect day?
In the big picture,
day for you?
In the big picture, it is to me, Curtis. So you ever watch Price is Right?
Oh yeah, no, I love. In fact, I think my love of animals came from there. But absolutely, Bob Barker and staying home from school and watching Price is Right.
I'll
Absolutely.
have to ask you later how love of animals came from Price is Right.
You know, spay and neuter animals. He always talked
there you
about
go.
it.
Okay,
Yeah, every time.
So one of
Bob
my favorite
Barker.
games I can remember is the range game, right? So you roll out an item, you guess what it is, and if it lights up in that range, right, you win the prize. Well,
Yeah.
in scheduling, we do the range game. So if our goal is 5,000, we want to be within 1,000 over and no less than 500 under. So if our goal is 5,000, we want 6,000 to 4,500. That's the big picture goal, right? It's not about having a full schedule, because I could put in your schedule, Curtis, crown seat, child exam, denture check, second follow-up root canal, 3 fillings, and something else, and you'll have a full schedule. Or I could put one patient with a 3-unit bridge, a root canal, and only one patient in the afternoon for a quadrant of fillings. Which would you rather have, full or productive?
Yeah, productive,
Okay.
100%. I'm full with crown seats all day. That's not good.
Right. So going back to your question about 5,000, I train our front desk to have consistent productive days. So if our goal is 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 1,000 over to 500 under. So I don't want to put so much pressure that every minute of every day we have to be full. We want to be productive and grow. So if we hit 5,000 a day every day for the month, then next month our goal might be 5,500 a day. So we're making steady progression. We don't set a goal at the beginning of the year and say that's it, because in July we hit it and then we're done for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah.
So when I come into my day, I've seen teams have a $5,000 or 6,000 on the books, have 3 openings, and spend 3 or 4 hours trying to fill an opening in 2 hours, which is non-productive use of time. I'd rather look on the next day and the next day and the next day, making it more and more productive. So productive is more important to full. But your question, I think you're asking, is how do I fill it if I want to?
That was the second part. So for the first portion, in order to have a productive, perfect day, however you want to call it, you truly do need to understand, well, what is a perfect day
for you,
right? And ultimately, it really is, regardless of, unless you truly are, for this day, I only want to do crown seats. But for the most part, 9 out of 10 times, it is going to be production. So you need to schedule to your production goal. Once you now know what that is, it's then making sure that you're able to fill up those appointments with dollars. So to your point then, or what you mentioned earlier, is saying, now if you have these holes in your schedule, then what you're wanting to do is, in order to fill those holes, have the best batting percentage by getting patients who have treatment already presented and get those patients scheduled, rather than getting the Katie's who have perfect teeth, right?
And there's not, and I want to get Katie in as well, but I want to make the best choices. And before I can do anything here, the practice is like, we've got the practice are the screws and the screwdriver is the tool, right? That's kind of old school. But what I love is dental intel is a power drill, right? So I need the right tool for the job. And so putting that screw in is a little easier, right? That's your practice. And so instead of using a screwdriver old school way, we want to use the tools we have that dental intel can allow us to help. So when I'm looking, I'm going to go into my ReCare pie chart as an example. And what I'm looking for are patients who've been in recently, last 6 months, that need the most treatment. And that's where I'm going to start calling. And you can see in this practice, this is where our effort is. So that's for filling our hygiene schedule. Then if we have holes on the doctor's schedule, I'm going to use my patient finder tool, and I'm going to jump in and just pull in patients that I'll do a search. So let's say I have a 45-minute opening. I'm going to look for patients needing fillings that have been in within a certain time frame. And you can use, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. They've recently been in, they're motivated. And maybe I need a crown prep. I'm going to pull patients who need crown preps. And I'm going to use those two tools, i.e. my power drill, instead of having to run reports in Dentrix, Open Dental, Eagle Soft, or heaven forbid you don't have one of those three. I don't want to have to run these reports and just look for anybody. The other thing that I'm able to use in my power tools is I can find patients that are better matches when I use, kind of the quick fill that Dental Intel has provided us as well, by the best match. So when I click on, I have an opening in my schedule, I hit my best match, and that then pulls up the patients that would best fill my schedule for that particular day, or the most likelihood should we reach them. But in addition to this, Curtis, we want to make sure that we're creating the follow-ups and that we have systems, right? Because one of the problems you can have is you call, let's say Katie old school on a Dentrix Eagle Soft Open Dental list, is her first name is Adams and my name is Zimbrowski. All the Adams are going to get called 100 times. We're never going to get to the Z's. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure we have a sequence of who we call, when we leave a message, when we hang up, when we send a local med link. We want to use all these tools together. So two parts. If you have open time on recall, I'm going to my pie chart and looking for them. And if I'm looking to fill my doctor's schedule, I'm going to go to my recent, particularly this month, I'm going to go into my restorative elective cases, and I'm going to, again, look for the patients who are just in, who need my care. And I'm going to look for anybody that was zero accepted on anything we newly diagnosed. And I'm going to follow up with them quickly and timely. And then I'm going to use my patient finder for filling the doctor's schedule with a more specific case. So for example, right here is 1,500 that was just in on the 1st of June that didn't schedule. This would be an ideal person to contact, right? So in addition to this, do you or Katie know the number one reason patients leave a practice?
Is it the smell of the office?
Well, that's
leave as in never coming back.
Well, the biggest reason is actually a lack of indifference or caring by the doctor or staff. So 64% leave because they think you don't care. So imagine, if you will,
interesting.
Imagine, if you will, someone tells you at your visit 3 weeks ago, Curtis, that you needed a crown, but for one reason or another, without good systems, I don't follow up for you for 60 to 90 days. When my team does call you, why am I calling? Because I care, I want your money.
Right.
It's typically the latter, because the doctor's over their shoulder saying, hey, I need to fill my schedule.
Exactly. So we set it up the minute you walk out the door. Within 14 days, you're being contacted by our office, because we know with the tools we have, who are the patients who we just saw that did not get our care we need. So we send them a letter as soon as they walk out the door. Hey, I know you didn't schedule and I care. My team's going to contact and follow up with you. And so right away, when you get home within 3 days, you get this letter and a photo of your tooth. And we're like, hey, we're going to be following up with you because Dr. Marshall really cares.
Right.
So when we work our recall pie chart and we work our unscheduled treatment collectively, we get butts in the chair.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing that's funny is I was just at a wedding over the weekend. My friend's name is Chris Zalig with a Z. And we were talking along the lines of, we actually started talking about healthcare and dental. Obviously, it seems like most conversations I have go right back to dental.
That's my life.
Yeah.
But you get dental, live that life, right?
I don't have any. I don't have conversations that don't include dentistry.
Yeah. And he's not dental. He does marketing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But he said, I love that my last name starts with a Z, because I rarely get called.
Yeah.
Like he recognized it as
Wow.
a marketing person.
Uh-huh.
So Kelly, this is a great point,
Yeah.
and you sharing, hey, rather than using that the old tool, use a power tool. I mean, we're in, what, 2021? We should
Yeah.
have flying cars by now, but we at
Oh,
least
and we kind of
Yeah.
do, but I mean, if you think about day planners and file cabinets and answering machines and pagers, they're all
pagers.
obsolete, but they're not that old, right?
Yeah.
So, our why for doing this and even talking today is that we know that our systems combined with DI equals results. So, you asked me a question and I'm going to kind of lead you here. I apologize, but getting butts in the recall in the hygiene chair, keeping hygiene full is important. We agree on that. Keeping the doctor, we can agree on that. So you guys monitor hundreds and hundreds of practice, thousands of practices actually.
Yep. Over 8,000.
Two of the numbers that I find that are really give me the pulse of all my practice tools and systems are patients acceptance. For every 10 patients we present work to, how many schedule or complete the work when they walk out the door, and of the dollars we present, how much of the dollars presented schedule. So what is a good number in your opinion?
As far as which one, people or
Case-
dollars? I'm
case-
going to let you take
case
this.
So
acceptance.
both. As a percentage, what's a good case acceptance?
Oh, I would
What's a
say
good
over
dollar?
90%.
Over
90%.
90%, Katie, for people saying yes. So if I present to 10
Yes.
people, 90% should say yes. I agree with Katie on that. I think
Well,
that's right.
I think that's way wrong. That's the goal. But what percentage of the practice do you think
Oh.
are performing at that level? That's really what
Oh,
I'm asking.
yeah. Not very
Look
many.
at
Well, I know.
What
Based
is
on
the
based
number,
on the
Kurt?
data that we look at, they sit around 40 to 50.
40-50% of the patients do
Yeah.
do their treatment. That's what your
Yep.
data shows with the majority of your clients, right? That's the average.
Yes. Yep.
All right. And what percentage of the dollars are scheduling?
I believe it's 30%.
All right.
In the high 20s.
So look at this. This is what our normal is with our systems, with your tools of DI. Last year, 64% of the dollars scheduled. Out of 2 million presented, 1.3 million scheduled. And out of the patients, here's another, out of the patients on that same practice, 93% of the patients scheduled. So out of 3,800 treatment plans, 3,600 were scheduled for 93% of the patients. Here's another one where they presented over the course of a year, they presented 2 million in dentistry. They had 1.3 million scheduled for 64% of the dollars. This is the elite. And it's not that you can't do it, but you've got to have the systems that we're talking about today. You need the power drill instead of the screwdriver to really make this happen.
Yeah.
Right? So
no, I didn't mean to cut you out there. The one thing that, I mean, this is obviously a love letter to DI because we work here and Kelly uses it.
And Kelly's able to use
Yes.
that power drill.
Yeah. But, and obviously there are other ways to achieve this, but there's one thing as a hygienist before I came here and I used Dental Intel is there are so many different ways to achieve filling the holes in the chairs. Like you've talked about follow-ups, patient finder, restorative elective cases, there's cancellations and no-show lists. There's so many ways to go about doing it. And based off of your goal, it can be achieved.
And follow-ups are follow-ups to unscheduled treatment, and follow-ups for filling the schedule are out of recare, right?
Yeah.
But I want to make sure the teams are cautious. Why, when someone no-shows, would they be on the top of my list to call back? You're setting yourself up to fail. If you don't give me the courtesy to call me at least 24 hours in advance, I don't see you as a value. Now, on the other side, or the patient doesn't see the practice as a value. Now, on the other side, I like to go to my cancellations. And when I'm pulling up who are the patients that canceled, the first thing I'm looking
And the reason why is because those people who canceled gave you more than 24-hour notice because they knew that they knew that their appointment was
they
that they
care
weren't
a
gonna make
little
it.
more.
Yeah.
They care a little more. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my restorative cases, find out if the patients who, for example, you get somebody who scheduled a crown, I want to see if they're rescheduled, or if I want to do quick fill on hygiene, I'll go to the hygiene patients who gave me at least 24 hours, and I'm going to call them and say, hey, I know you had to cancel. Appreciate the 24 hours, but Curtis, we had a change in our schedule this week. Would you like to come in? We'd appreciate you helping us out. So again, Katie, I totally agree. There are different ways, but one of the things that DI gives us is the ability to choose the best patient. So a cancellation is a better patient than a no-show. But at the last minute, if I had a no-show today, somebody called this morning and canceled at 2:00, I might call somebody who no-showed yesterday and say, hey, Katie, we know yesterday you had to give us short notice, but we had a short notice today. Could you help us out and come in today? But again, I'm going to call you, not if you're just a cleaning, but if you need treatment, right? You don't have a bad history. And one of the things I can do,
right?
and one of the things I can do with dental intel is I can even look and see if you have a history of canceling or no showing. So if you're a 50-50 chance of showing, I might not even give you that courtesy, sort of a don't call me, I'll call you.
I looked at that number all day long.
Well, I'll tell you another tool. In the morning,
good thing my office doesn't utilize that tool right now, because they would never call me.
You'd never get an appointment.
Nope.
Come on, Curtis.
So here's another tool I like to use when I'm looking at today in my morning huddle. I'm looking at the patients who are coming in today that have unscheduled treatment, but I'm looking at also at the patients. If I'm a hygienist, as an example, I've got 9 patients coming in today, and none of these first 3 patients need treatment, and none of them have done treatment. None of them have referred their friends. I may not be offering them an 8 or 9 o'clock appointment down the road, because I got 1,000 people who are overdue that are really wanting to see me. So I don't want to give my most desired time.
Whoa. I've never heard you say this. Wait a second. Sorry, I'm stopping you. I'm a cross guard that just walked out, crossing some kids across the street. I'm going to say this one more time. What I just heard, and this is brilliant. I've really never thought of this, Kelly. You're telling me that if a patient doesn't have a treatment in their treatment planner versus somebody who does have treatment in their treatment planner, you want to schedule the patients with treatment in their treatment planner in the morning, and then I'm going to finish the statement, because then if they come in the morning, we can get them accept treatment so they can actually do the treatment on that same day. Is that why?
No. What I'm saying is I've got 1,000 people overdue. Right. Of which, say, 100 need treatment.
Okay.
I would rather give them an opportunity to get in my practice than somebody who keeps coming in every morning, every 6 months, 8 months. Now, most of my practices, Curtis, let's go back to a couple things. Same-day treatment is always great. It's a great way to grow a practice. But if I've scheduled you effectively and correct and to goal, you're going to have very little opportunity, minus a cancellation no-show, to do same-day treatment. So it comes back to, what is my goal? If I'm a high PPO or maybe a Medicaid, Medicare practice where patients in the chair, let's do it now, that might be our focus. And then we want patients for the reason you mentioned. But if I'm more of a fee-for-service or traditional insurance, I'm probably going to be scheduled to goal. The other part is, if depending on the number of operatories. So if I've got an overflow room, I've got a doctor down in Florida and a couple others, but they bring in one assistant, and their goal every day, she works all day, but their goal every day is one patient in the morning and one in the afternoon to do same-day treatment. So I would say to Katie, if you'd like to do this today and you've got a little extra time, we can work you in with Anna, and she's going to take care of you. You're going to be the only patient over on that side. We're going to start and stop, but we can take care of this. You don't have to come back. And our goal is one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So if you think of what one quadrant of fillings or one crown would do in addition to your $5,000 day, it can be big. My point, Curtis.
What did you call that, Katie? You called that exponential growth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and and also it's just what's best for the patient. Like, it always comes back to that.
That is it.
Yeah, if you can get a patient in today, if time allows it, or the sooner I can get you in, the less chance of you having a dental emergency, right?
Right.
But when I'm looking at my entire morning, and this is a really, really strong practice, but their whole morning is filled with patients who don't need treatment, right? So if they just keep pre-appointing, that's a problem, right? The other old school thing is this. I say to Curtis, you ask me, hey, Kelly, you're my hygienist. You say, hey, Kelly, would you like to schedule your 6-month cleaning? Old school hygiene. I, as a patient, say, well, Curtis, I really don't know my schedule. I'm going to have to get back to you. What do you think most hygienists say?
Okay.
No,
Let
most hygienists are trained to say, "We'll just put you on a schedule," and then,
Ah,
if you need to
and
cancel,
then,
give us a call.
yeah,
So
yes,
you gave me
exactly.
permission to cancel.
Yep.
Instead, what I'm going to say is, Curtis, since you don't know your schedule, which day of the week is best to reach you? I'm going to call you, the first week of January. Which day? Tuesday. I'm going to pick Tuesday, and I'm going to make a follow up to call you Tuesday after 2 on your cell. And then I'm going to say, Curtis, I'm going to ask you a favor. When we call you, leave you a message. We'll also send you a link that you can schedule with Local Med. But when we call you, either go online or schedule, or Curtis, will you call me back so I don't have to chase you down?
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to give you an appointment that I hope you show, creating stress for my front desk when you cancel. I'm going to create a follow up when it's closer to the time that you're due, and you better know your schedule that you can make an appointment you can commit to.
but Kelly, that's so hard.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a
Yeah.
that's a loft pitch for you,
No,
by the way.
but
Kelly, that's so hard.
What's hard?
yeah.
To call a patient, I just want to schedule you because now I've checked the box and I've scheduled you. I've got everything that the doctor and the hygiene coordinator want me to do. I got it scheduled. I don't have to call you again. I'm done.
You don't have to call me as my hygienist. You have to make a reminder for our team to call you, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things we teach the whole team how to make follow-ups, right? So
How to use
it's
follow-up
no
dental
harder.
intel. Mhm.
It's no harder to create a follow-up within Dental Intel than it is to make an appointment that you may not keep at all. And to that point, you're not all our listeners are online, but if you're looking at the screen, our entire team are making phone calls. And this year, they've scheduled over 52,000 in recall through June. And with our systems and follow-ups for unscheduled treatment, year to date, we've scheduled another 45,000 in unscheduled treatment. So I don't want patients just making appointments that we hope will show. That's more work.
Yeah.
Just create a quick follow-up in Dental Intel to call you instead of making the appointment. So we coach them through that, and it's not.
Yeah, and Kelly, the reason I've heard you talk about this before, and that is a very different opinion than a lot of other people have.
Yep.
And as a hygienist, and the way that I've been taught by other people, it's a very different philosophy.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of opened up my mind because and really it's because of I was practicing, through COVID, right? And when we all shut down and then we came back, none of us had anybody on our schedules.
Right.
But a lot of us got everything scheduled, booked out really quickly. And so it really does say, to your point, that you don't need a lot of 6 months in advance to get people on the schedule. You just need good systems in place.
Right.
And follow-ups does that.
Right. The old school mentality was everybody left with an appointment. That was the way I taught when I started, and for many years. And then I hooked up with Dental Intel, and it's like I bought a microwave instead of a fire pit. Right. I now have a powerful tool that's quicker. So again, I would rather have people on the schedule, and let's face it, as long as tomorrow is full every day, that's all that matters. Being booked 3, 4, 5 weeks out is just a luxury. But it also can be a curse, because if I'm booked full for 3 months with people who don't need work and my new patients can't get in, that's an issue, And again, when I go to my recall pie chart in Dental Intel, I see a bunch of people that are overdue who need treatment, and I look at a full schedule next week with a bunch of people who don't. I'm pulling my hair out going, we've got the wrong patients, guys.
Yeah.
So,
and it can be really frustrating.
Yeah. So again, I want people who need our care, who will show, not people who think they will show and then cancel. I mean, Curtis, would you rather have a full schedule tomorrow that just made appointments, or a full schedule that you hope are going to show?
Oh, 100%. Option A.
I'd rather know I've got 3 openings this week to fill than 3 people I don't know if they're going to show up to the last minute, because Dental Intel has given us that tool, that power drill, if you will, to find the patients in short notice. I mean, it's
I had, as a hygienist, I was double booked. I had an assistant, right? And I worked one day a week. My dad was the dentist, my brother was the dentist, and so a lot of people, just because of the way it is with family, they all wanted to get in and
All
see
the ones
me.
come, all six of you, all
Yeah.
6 of them come in at the same time.
Yeah, well, and so my schedule was always full with recare, right? It was
Right.
always full with, and I would, you know, doing it this way would allow more scaling and root planing and for me, more fun cases to do,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the
And
same thing.
better care for the
Yes.
public
Yeah.
in
No,
your community.
I'm a
Yeah.
big believer that you got to talk the talk and walk the walk, right? And so I've seen a lot of other coaches who I respect teach different ways. And there's no one way that's correct. But what I love so much is now I can kind of prove my theory, if you will. For example, this is an office that had, and for those of you not listening, they had 2,600 hours of hygiene. We kept 2,344 of them filled. 0.89 patients per day with 1 hour prophies. That's a 90% show rate,
That's
right?
huge.
Yeah.
And so
That's
we're not
almost unheard of.
scheduling everybody in advance. We're scheduling the patients we will know. So we have less cancellation and no shows when we do it this way and less stress on the patients because I don't know what I'm doing 6 months from now on a Tuesday at 2:00. Sure, make that appointment, right? And I really don't care if I cancel or no show. But if you have systems and take control, and again, I can show with the way I'm teaching with the numbers of practice after practice, we have a really good show rate when we make some tweaks with, the dental intel and with local med, we're crushing it in most of our offices.
So to your point, really to schedule the perfect patient, if I have 10 openings in my schedule, that's what I have available.
Right.
I would much rather have 9 of those filled with somebody absolutely they're going to come versus all 10 of them filled and have 3 to 4 or 2 to 3 break their appointments.
And
I would much rather know that these people are going to show up than a full schedule and hoping and having people break their appointments.
yeah,
Kelly, this is awesome material. I hope
so good.
I hope some
Yes.
people are going to go talk to their office managers or their doctors if you're an office manager and say, "Hey, look at this concept of using a power drill to fill the right seats of the right patients in our chairs."
Right.
I mean,
Perfect.
I literally in some of my offices that are resistant to change in new technology, right? You take a board, you have 5 screws and a screwdriver, and you give it to the old school person, and then you give somebody 5 screws, a board, and a power drill, and say, let's have a contest to see who can put all 5 screws in the board quickest, right? And that's what dental intel gives us the ability to do, right? We're able to become way more productive. So these are just a few tools that I use, Curtis, to really help us, be more productive. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. We just like to use, like I said, the power drill versus the old school way. But knowing your recare numbers, those are the real effective things. It's about retention, case acceptance, and effective systems. Know your systems, use all your tools. The other, shut the door on, patients that have gone 18 months past due. We can bring patients in, but we want to shut the back door because retention's really the key. So
So before we let you go, Kelly,
And this has been
amazing.
by the way.
Yeah, really great.
I once again, everybody, I get to meet with this man on a regular basis, him and his team, and
my team is
consistently
being
picking
Anna.
up great things. I mean, I had to be the crossing guard and stop the podcast for a second. Anyway,
Yeah, no, but we want to ask, because we ask all of our guests the same question: what does growth in dentistry look like to you? We ask that question because it means so much, so
different.
different
It's
for everybody.
widely different
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yes. So what does it mean to you? What does it look like to you?
Growth to me, or what I try to do with my practice, is find out what is your ideal day, right? Doing the type of procedures you want on the patients with people you enjoy. And so, it goes back to something simple. If you come to work every day and you enjoy the people you're working with, that's growth. Because a lot of people put up, Anna and I are our team. We only work with the practices we really like. One of the things that we're trying to help our practices achieve is what we call the positive 16, which means if we want to grow our practice to a certain level, and sometimes it's a little higher, but let's say we want to grow by 16 new patients a month and we're losing 15. Well, we got to get 31, 32 new patients, but we want to see our growth chart by 16 positive patients. not below that. So you get 10 in and 10 out, you're a zero growth. We want to get 20 in, have no more than 15, 14 out, so we get 16 new patients. Um, Average practice is going up with a single doctor and double hygiene is going up about 200,000 a year. All but about 5 of our practices out of our 100 that we monitor had their best year ever last year with COVID. The only ones that did not were the really bigger groups that do 200,000 plus. They had a hard time making up those 2 months, but they definitely closed the gap. All of them, when we look at their production per hour, had more productive production per hour. They just worked less hours. So growth to me is being happier today than I was yesterday, working on patients, doing what I enjoy doing with the team I enjoy doing it with. That's growth.
Very well said. Very well said.
Bravo.
Well, thank you so much.
thanks, Kelly.
This has been Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast. Again, special thanks to our guest, Kelly Schwartz from Consulting Group, Schwartz Consulting Group. You can check him out at, what's your webpage again? Oh, right there. Right there. KellySchwartz.com.
There it is.
Yep.
KellySchwartz.com.
And this link will be on all the links that we have to our Dental Intel and to our YouTube channel will be on our show notes, and you can find all these related links and other podcasts and many more on that page at dentalintel.com. Thank you again to Curtis Marshall for joining us today, and thanks again to Tyler Johnson, our product specialist and sound engineer. I'm Katie Polson. Keep growing.